There are 7 characters in the Attack on Titan world that perfectly represent the 7 deadly sins. Be aware that all seasons of Attack on Titan will be in this video, so this is a spoiler warning for early Attack on Titan watchers. Now let's move on to the first sin, which is the sin Gluttony. Gluttony is described as an excessive indulgence in any substance or resource, an individual who doesn't simply consume for sustenance, but rather revolves their life around consumption. The character perfectly representing this sin is by no surprise Sasha Brown. Sasha was a friendly, fun and loving girl with a compulsive appetite. She was a mountain girl and lived in the forest with her happy parents and siblings, until the infamous incident happened, which made Sasha and her family unable to live the peaceful life they had. After the incident, Sasha became a cadet, and that's the moment we see her love for food, because on her first day of training, Sasha had the audacity to eat a potato while the instructor was busy intimidating every new trainee. When Sasha was caught, she agreed to give half of her potato to the instructor, but it wasn't even half. Sasha really loved eating and took every chance she got, even if it meant she had to steal some. But Sasha isn't the only character with a crazy craving, because the character representing lust has the same level of craving. Lust is described as an inordinate desire for or inordinate enjoyment of sexual pleasure. The character representing this sin is none other than Mikasa Ackerman. In her childhood, Mikasa was a cheerful and kind kid. After her parents were killed, Mikasa started her new life in the Yeager's house, and that was the moment she started to change. Or actually, it was before that, because when Mikasa saved Eren, her powers awakened, and with that, her persona changed as well. From being cheerful, she became stoic. From soft and cute, she became strong and hard. From being somewhat carefree, she became very protective over a certain person. I believe that she became overprotective to the point it became lustful, because it doesn't take a genius to understand that Mikasa loves Eren, but most of the time all she can think about was Eren. While her craving for Eren was crazy, it isn't as crazy as the characters towards the end of this video. But first we got the group of people perfectly representing the sin Sloth. Sloth is described as a culpable lack of physical or spiritual effort. The group of people perfectly representing this sin is none other than the Military Police Brigade, or MPs for short. The MP is an elite group of soldiers composed only of humanity's most talented and skilled soldiers. It had about 2,000 soldiers that worked in the branch directly. The MPs seek to maintain peace, safety, and order within the interior walls. This sounds very heroic, but do not get fooled, because this regiment is very corrupt and messy, and it has been shown in the series a couple of times, where Marley was put in charge of a mission while the senior officers were drinking and gambling, for example, or when Marley caught 2 policemen illegally selling government-issued equipment. We also see people like Kenny Ackerman, ex-convict and a murderer, as a member of the police, which raises question as to what kind of people are involved. With little effort to control this regiment, the group became a big mess. But this isn't the only group perfectly representing a sin in this video, because there's a different group of people perfectly representing the sin pride. Pride is described as a too high opinion of one's ability or worth, a feeling of being better than others. The group of people perfectly representing this sin is none other than the Marley Empire. Marley is a nation located beyond the walls and across the ocean from Paradis Island, and for the longest time it didn't have good relation with the people of Paradis Island, the Eldians, and that's because Marley was once attacked by Eldia in the ancient times during the Great Titan War. Eventually Marley was able to overpower Eldia and decided that the Eldians needed to pay for their sins. Marley felt like they deserved the right to rule over the Eldians because of what they did, but completely ignored what they themselves did. Eldia is punished by Marley for using Titan powers to gain more power, but Marley did the exact same thing, not only against Paradis Island but also against other nations. Just like everyone who has ever lived, we have done bad things, especially nations. Take all the big countries you know and look at their past. 99% chance that those countries have done bad things in the past and are still committing bad crimes. All of us have done things that we weren't supposed to do, but to neglect your own actions and still punish others for theirs is pride on a different level, and Marley has achieved that level. But the characters perfectly representing the next sins represent them on an even higher level, such as the character that perfectly represents the sin greed. Greed is described as a selfish desire to have more of something. Simply said, an extreme desire for more. The character perfectly representing this sin is none other than Erwin Smith. Erwin Smith was the 13th commander of the Survey Corps. He was discerning, intelligent, and widely respected. While he cared deeply for his men, he did not hesitate to sacrifice them for the good and prosperity of mankind. But was it really for mankind though? Maybe he didn't make the choices with mankind in his mind, but with his own goal in mind. Erwin Smith used to live with his father, and his father had interesting and controversial ideas about the outside world, and those ideas turned out to be very close to reality because his father was killed for those ideas. Erwin then made it his mission to uncover the truth about the outside world to see if his father was right. This was Erwin's meaning to keep on living, and he has stated this himself. He has fooled everybody, including himself, that he was doing this for humanity.
いつしか私は部下を従えるようになり、仲間を鼓舞した。 人類のために心臓を捧げよと。そうやって仲間を騙し、自分を騙し。
But in the end, he just wanted to have the lost connection with his father back, and other people had to pay for that. But Eren realized that he couldn't keep on doing this.
見えるか、俺たちの仲間が。仲間たちは俺らを見ている。捧げた心臓がどうなったか知りたいんだ。
Because that would mean the biggest disrespect he would give to his comrade. So for the first time in his life, he has devoted himself to humanity, a sacrifice to never forget. One of the characters perfectly representing the sin envy also saw a sacrifice to never forget. Envy is described as a feeling of wanting something someone else has. There are two characters that perfectly represent this sin, and the first one is Oruo. Oruo Bozad was a soldier in the Scout Regiment, handpicked by Captain Levi for the Special Operations Squad. He was a skilled soldier with a very high tiding kill record, but this wasn't enough for him to be content with himself. He felt like he needed to be more, or better said, he felt like he lacked something, and Captain Levi had what he was missing. So Oruo changed himself and started to act like Captain Levi. He imitated Levi's hairstyle and sometimes even tried to talk like his captain. We may never know how Oruo was before he met Captain Levi, but Petra has confirmed that he was different because she kept telling him that he was acting weird and should stop acting like the captain.
昔はそんな喋り方じゃなかったよね。それが仮にもしリヴァイ兵長の真似してるつもりなら、本当にやめてくれない？いや、全く共通点とかは感じられない。
But at least Oruo never said that he was envious of Captain Levi, because the other character perfectly representing the sin envy did, and that character is none other than Jean. Jean was in the same cadet as Eren Yeager, the protagonist of Attack on Titan, and from the start they never really liked each other. They had different goals and different views on life, and because of that they regularly got in a fight. But the main thing that got Jean envious of Eren was Mikasa, because Jean was in love with Mikasa and would never slip an opportunity of glancing at Mikasa. But Mikasa loved Eren. This made Jean envious of Eren and even told Eren. In the end, he still manages to get Mikasa, but the legend goes around that he is still envious because Mikasa still visited and was graved at the same place as Eren was, her beloved hero, the character that also made the sacrifice nobody will ever forget, and the character that perfectly represents the sin wrath. Wrath is described as a strong feeling of hatred or resentment with the desire of vengeance. Eren used to live in the outer walls of Paradis Island. Although his life was peaceful, Eren had the burning desire to venture outside of the walls. He didn't know what lay behind the walls, but it had to be beautiful. Something beautiful like freedom. As long as all the Titans would be killed, there would be no enemy between him and the outside world with all the freedom. But to his surprise, this wasn't the case. Titans weren't even the real enemies that caused his caged life. It was the other people at the other side of the world that gave him this life, and that disappointed him. It angered him and eventually pushed him to make the choice to use his anger on the outside world for the caged life it gave him and his friends. Eren ended up killing 80% of humanity, and he himself died in the process. But maybe we could finally say, but maybe now, Eren and his friends truly knew freedom.